Well, I do see everything seems to be in order. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, 'tis I, Michael A. Grimm, aka the Multi-Voice. I have many voices, but one opinion. And today, I'm going to be talking... Now, I know I promised you guys that I won't be doing any more Doctor Who, but, there is a certain audio that they made that, let's just say it is a Doctor Who-ish story. I mean, it's a lot like Doctor Who, but with his name scraped off. And this one was, it wasn't, I mean, one thing you should know that if you remember my review of Death Comes to Time, we had, like, Stephen Fry playing the Minister in that audio. And on that one, Stephen Fry was a Time Lord who had godlike powers. So, when I'm going to be talking, and some of you are going to be wondering, what is with Stephen Fry Minister character got to do with this review? Well, I'm going to be reviewing to you an audio drama that is like Doctor Who, but it's an entirely different character involved. And of course, some of you are going to be asking me, yes, it's the same minister that I used on my audio drama. The same minister from the Cult of Frankenstein, and of course, a brief appearance on, well, yeah, Cult of Frankenstein, and of course on my Disturbance in the Multiverse, and the Resurrection of the Minister. So, some people say it's not canon to the Doctor Who universe, but now people are saying that it is. So, I'm just putting those two together. Because it is part of the universe. They just can't say Gallifrey or Time Lord or things like that. And the audio I'm going to be talking about is, of course, the Minister of Chance. To start this audio, it turns out that this is a universe where they use magic and science is forbidden in their planets. And it's going to involve 3 planets. One planet called Cerson, and there's another planet called Jura, and there's a planet in the middle called Tanto. That's pretty much in the crossfire between the war between Juran and Seven. And of course, starts out we have... Now, of course I'm taking their pictures from Doctor Who, so, because some of the cast members from Doctor Who are in this audio. First off, we have Ambassador Duran, voiced by none other than Paul McGann. And Paul McGann shows up to Tanto to deal with the king. He meets Queen's little daughter, Dee Dee, and of course trying to do a little trick like saying, what's behind your ear, but the guards aim their weapons at them, saying that in Tanto law, you are forbidden to lay a hand on any royalty. I mean, not allowed to lay a hand on the king or queen or princess. And Duran is like, okay, just bring me to the king. And therefore he meets the Tanto king, voiced by Tim McInerney. Now, I remember him from Black Atta. Thank goodness Paul McGann didn't go like, hello, darling. But, turns out that there was, now it becomes a huge argument between Duran and the Tanto King, because all of a sudden the king starts acting like, Gordon Ramsay, going like, you groveling piece of shit! Who could imagine a planet where Gordon Ramsay's king? But he says that there is a war between 2 planets and you need to pick a side. And if you don't pick a side, then you're nothing but a casualty. And, of course, the Tanto King says that his people are strong, they can handle it. Because they will not take any threats from anybody in different planets. And, of course, even the Tanto King proved to him that, that he has an army that are loyal, that they can take any chances if any of their soldiers ever showed up in their planet. So after the argument between Durin and the Tanto King, he did threaten the king that he will take something precious to him if he will not comply. And after seeing the Princess Didi, he did do the trick on what's behind your ear, and it's his key to his ship, and then all of a sudden he kidnapped her. And of course, if any of you are wondering what happened to the princess throughout the whole story, the princess was a MacGuffin. It's irrelevant, so we're not going to be mentioning about the princess anymore, nor the Tanto King. But now in the main story, we have a bar maiden who goes by the name of Kitty, voiced by the very lovely Lauren Crace. Now, Lauren Crace, she works as a bar maiden who just serves alcohol to anybody who calls for anything they want to drink. And from out of nowhere, out comes this mysterious stranger who came out of nowhere. And he starts asking them, do they know of a certain scientist called Professor Kanta? Now, everybody in the bar don't speak of it because they know that she's a scientist. And like I said, science is forbidden in their in their universe. So they ask the mysterious stranger to leave. But Kitty, she was interested, so she went all the way to find Professor Kanta. And of course, Professor Kanta is played by the ever so lovely and very attractive woman. I mean, some of you remember her from Logan's Run, and of course, American Werewolf in London. Jenna Agutter. And of course, the mysterious stranger showed up, and he asked for Professor Kanta for a looking glass, another term of telescope. That's part of the science thing that is forbidden. Now, it's kind of odd, though, because in their planet, they use magic, never science, but most of the people in their planet, they do use lasers and also use spaceships. So how come science is forbidden when they have the technology on using spaceships? And then all of a sudden, here comes a meeting where Admiral Durin showed up, and there he meets the Witch Prime, voiced by another actor who played the Doctor, Sylvester McCoy. And he gets so pissed off at Durin, he was like, "You deployed a diplomat! I'm gonna rip out your brain and shit in your skull! I mean, you were supposed to make a peace treaty with the Tanto King! Why the hell did you have to kidnap her daughter?" But of course, there's another fella who goes by the name of Lord Rathvin, played by the same actor who played a betraying, backstabbing friend from Blake 7, Paul Dura. Now, Paul Dura's telling the Witch Prime that he should try to kill Durin. Make it look like an accident and people will know him as a hero. Blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, Kitty and Kanta confronts the stranger, while at the same time Durin gets promoted to become the governor So now he's no longer an ambassador. Now he's promoted as governor. So now he's Governor Durin. And then a group of soldiers showed up, and they taken Professor Kanta. So now the stranger and Kitty had to make their escape. So now they ended up together. And of course, the stranger revealed himself as the minister. And the minister is voiced by none other than Julia Waldham. Now, don't ask me what movies have I ever seen him in, because I haven't seen any movies. I mean, I guess he must appear in a lot of dramas, which I never watch, because you know how I feel about dramas. I just don't like them, so I never seen him in anything. So, sorry guys. But of course, one thing that the minister used in order to get the troops out of their backs, he used a certain door that opens up to other worlds, called the Frost Bridge Between Worlds. Well, thank goodness they didn't call it Magic Door. Thank God for that. Okay, I like to reference Doctor Who. What's that? No, just made it up. I don't want to say Magic Door. And then all of a sudden, they ended up in a room where they meet a bunch of monsters. And of course, the minister starts to communicate with one of the monsters, telling him, "Do you know about the Horsemen?" And the monsters, the minister thought they know what he's talking about, but then now they're thinking about killing the minister and Kitty. And surprisingly, they ended up in prison, where they meet this fella who goes by the name of Soto. And Soto says that he is a farmer who escaped. While at the same time, Rathen showed up, and he saw a bunch of troops who had captured Kanta, but was going after the minister and Kitty. And they told Rathen what they discovered, that the minister used some sort of magic door that disappeared. And Rathen says, "Well, thanks for your service." And then he kills him. He just kills the troops who spotted the door and the minister. You know, there's something awfully screwy going on around Rathen. Or what Elmer Fudd says, "You know, something awfully screwy going on around here." Well, at the same time, Kitty and Soto, they met the Horseman. And the Horseman, he's not exactly right in the head. I mean, he thinks that he's killing the soldiers, but he saw something in Kitty and made him unable to kill her, so he just went off to kill more soldiers. And surprisingly, the Horseman is voiced by none other than Peter Guinness. Peter Guinness played the Horseman. While at the same time, the minister has a friend. He has Oscar the dinosaur. Because a bunch of troops starts to attack Kitty and Soto, but of course the minister says, "Oh, don't kill me, kill Oscar!" And Oscar showed up, killing all the soldiers. You know, it's not often that you have a hero who uses a T-Rex as a backup. Who'd have thunk it? You know, that would have been pretty awesome if a certain hero has a pet dinosaur, a T-Rex per se, who pretty much can take down a whole army. I'm the mother-loving T-Rex! T-Rex! Ah, 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 ah. I'm the mother-loving T-Rex! T-Rex! Ah, 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 ah. Anyway, Kitty and Kanta got reunited until they finally figured out that Soto is not really a farmer, he was a spy. He was trying to figure out who the minister, who the horseman, and what Kitty is. And of course, at the same time, the Witch Prime and Durin decided to celebrate over his promotion as governor. Well, at the same time, they're going to this one village where Kitty met this girl who says that she's going to be sacrificed. She's going to drown for for what the Sage of the Waves says. And even though Kitty saved the girl was ungrateful because she thought she wanted to die. She wanted to sacrifice herself for the Sage. And Kitty thinks this is ludicrous. This is nuts. You know, that's one thing I hate. People who really want to die after saving their lives. Such ingrate dumbasses. Nothing that pissed me off than people who don't appreciate being saved. And then when Kitty and the minister finally found the Sage of the Waves is played by none other than Tamsin Grigg, the most funniest and loveliest British actress I've seen in Black Books and The Green Hall and other British comedies I've seen. You know, a lot of people do say that she would have been perfect as a doctor because she has more attitude and goes through and complains over people's stupidity. I would say she'd be perfect. But anyway, the Witch Prime was trying to backstab Durin. The Witch Prime was trying to get Durin killed by having one of his assassins disguised as a reporter. Well, at the same time, the minister had told Kitty who the horseman is, and he says he's dangerous. Well, Kanta got pissed off that there was a library that was full of books, now they're all burned because of the Sage, because of what they assume what the Sage has said. Which it turns out, the Sage got nothing to do with the people's decisions. I mean, she's just there to give them, what they need with her Sage ability. And sacrificing somebody to please her wasn't... she didn't start this. She didn't plan this. Somebody else did. They're just doing it for her name, which she wasn't great, which she's not exactly grateful about it. Now, Durin confronts the Witch Prime, but at the same time, the minister, he deals with the horsemen, and Rathen is going to Tanto. And now, the horsemen have finally got to his senses and finally act normal. While the Witch Prime, he retired, while Durin gets promoted as a Witch Prime. So now Durin is now the Witch Prime. First he was ambassador, and then he gets promoted as governor, and now he gets promoted as Witch Prime. I guess Witch Prime is like the Prime Minister in a way. Anyway. Now Kitty, she starts talking to the horseman, and the horseman, he starts talking like, every time when he talks, it just reminds me of that scene from Blazing Saddles. You know, Mongo.
Mongo only pawn, the game of life.
That's what pops into my head every time I hear the horseman talk.
Mongo only pawns the game of life.
Anyway, Kitty went back to Kanta while Durin, he starts talking to the Jura Queen, and the minister confronts Durian, but it turns out that Rathan betrays Durin by launching a missile that killed the queen, and the king had killed Durian because they thought it was his fault for launching the rocket, and the king, known as the Summer King, is voiced by Philip Glinster. And after Rathan betrayed Durin, and Durin gets killed by the king, now Rathan decided to kill his own men because of boredom. Now he's getting bored. And now the minister walked up and talked to the Witch Prime, well, ex-Witch Prime, Sylvester McCoy, that you let things go way too far, so now it's time to do something that's right. Get your loyal troops that are still loyal to you and try to help the people, trying to get them to stop Rathan. Kanta talks to Kitty about her past. Ratha is the same. And it turns out that Rathan, he's the same kind of species as the Minister and the Horseman. I mean, I know they're not saying that they're Time Lords, but it's more like a nudge, nudge, wink, wink. They are. It's just they're not being canon to the Doctor Who mythos. I mean, Doctor Who lore, to be precise. So the former Witch Prime, he showed up and he decided to help. But at the same time, the Minister and Kitty, they went to the River Hicks. And therefore we discovered that Kitty, she's part human. And of course, it turns out that Kitty is Rathan's daughter. Oh, one thing about Rathan. Now, I talk about it in the Doctor Who Death Comes to Time, that Rathan is a lot like that evil dictator on Death Comes to Time. Because on Death Comes to Time, the main bad guy, who is an evil, treacherous dictator, he's a Time Lord who is starting to wiping out certain species throughout different planets until he wanted and trying to get what he really wanted, power. Of course, on Death Comes to Time, he wanted godlike powers that Time Lords used to have. But in this one, Rathan just wants power and control. He just wants to control everything. So now it becomes a fight between the Minister and Rathan, and pretty much Minister ended the fight by giving Rathan a good kick in the groin, because there was a sound that made like this. I bet that felt really good. And then after that was done, the Minister decided to leave. He's doing exactly what the Doctor does. He doesn't stick around to be thanked. He just sees that his mission is over, so now he's moving on for the next mission. And Kitty, she wanted to know where the Minister is at, but it's kind of hinting that he may return. But who knows if they're going to make another one. So pretty much, Kitty now took over the bar, and she has the Horseman with him, while Kantha is at her own lab, trying to show all these magical people to try to use science and use technology for the better. And of course, after there were, that was the end of the Minister of Chance. Now, they were trying to do some funds, and they got themselves in a Kickstarter of making a video of Minister of Chance with the same cast, except it's the prologue one. You know, the one between Durin and the Tanto King, Paul McGann and Tim McInerney. But that was it. So, we never know if they're going to continue on with the Minister of Chance. And if any of you are going to ask me about the Minister of Chance, sometimes I do think about, certain franchises that my Doctor would have crossed over. But one certain franchise I think that the Minister should cross over, I think he should cross over the Star Wars universe. Since Star Wars is more of a science fiction fantasy. Well, this is my review for the day. If any of you like this review of the Minister of Chance, please leave a comment down below. Hit like and subscribe. Make sure you tell me what you think about the Minister of Chance. Does it fascinate you or not? And if any of you want to listen to, if you want to listen to the audio of the Minister of Chance, well, just like I said on the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy radio show, I'll send you the link from the Internet Archive, because Internet Archives has a Minister of Chance as well. So, this is Michael A. Grimm, aka the Multi-Voice. I remember so I could jog your memory, and see you soon.